Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. We know that Los Angeles, like cities throughout the country, has really been ravaged by the theft of metal, particularly copper, but all sorts of metal in the public infrastructure is being stripped away by thieves and by the unscrupulous metal dealers that enable those thieves. And many people may think of this as a minor crime, a petty sort of theft, but it is anything but that. The theft of metal in this city has resulted in repeated, very expensive repairs of the public's infrastructure, loss of street lighting throughout our city, which has resulted in continuously dark neighborhoods and more dangerous neighborhoods, more crime, the outage of traffic signals, resulting in an increased risk of traffic collisions, even the loss of fire hydrants, sprinkler systems, and other kinds of life safety fire controls, endangering both lives and property. I serve on the Metro Board and the board of MetroLink, and even train controls have been put at risk because of metal theft. So imagine the consequences when a train control is not functioning because someone has decided to steal wire out of that. We've had a loss of irrigation in our parks, resulting in, the wholesale loss of green space and recreational areas. Even the destruction of irreplaceable historical monuments and even grave markers, which gives you a sense of the despicable nature of the people who commit these crimes, the absolute lack of concern about anything that society holds dear. We also know this is not just random, individualized, petty thefts. This is an organized form of crime that's enabled by those metal dealers, metal purchasers, who are enabling these crimes by knowingly purchasing stolen goods. So we have state laws in place. Thankfully, California has enacted a series of laws and regulations that govern metal dealers, and it has a whole list of strict protocols that they have to follow in order to try to reduce the risk of these kinds of crimes. But we also know that there are some metal dealers that will just avoid those regulations in order to make a quick buck. Now, 9 months ago, I announced, along with City Attorney Feldstein Soto, we announced that we were going to be watching the metal dealers in Los Angeles. We sent out warning letters to every single metal dealer in the city of Los Angeles, citing the state law and letting them know that any violations of these state laws would be prosecuted. Since we sent out that warning, I worked closely with the Los Angeles Police Department to fund a task force in the East Valley that would be focusing on the many metal dealers that we have in that area and enforcing the law. And I want to thank Chief Hamilton for stepping up and making sure that we were able to make that happen. And it has made a big difference. And you're going to hear about some of the results that we've had. And you'll see some of, here in some of these pictures, you'll see some of the results of the task force's work. I'm not going to go into the specific details, but let me just say that through the work of this task force, we've already recovered over 1,600 pounds of copper wire. Now, that wire in itself is worth about $40,000. But the consequences to the taxpayers of Los Angeles are far, far greater than that. And the cost of repairs to replace that copper wire are estimated to be over $500,000 already. And we know that the taxpayers of Los Angeles spend millions and millions of dollars every single year to repair the damage that's done. So this is a crime that needs to be, the law needs to be enforced. These crimes need to be prosecuted. After we make today's announcement, I'm going to be contacting the district attorney to emphasize how important it is that these crimes actually be taken seriously and prosecuted as felonies. So with that, it's a great pleasure and an honor for me to be able to ask to speak Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, whom I've had the pleasure of knowing since he was Lieutenant Hamilton, and Captain Hamilton, I'm sorry, Chief Hamilton has really spearheaded the effort of taking this crime seriously. So Chief Hamilton, please.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, sir. And I want to first acknowledge the outstanding support that we've received from Council District 2 and from Councilmember Krekorian. He's been instrumental in not only bringing attention to this problem, which has been a long-term problem in the East San Fernando Valley, but other parts of the valley as well. I know that both our business partners and our regional governmental partners, including Caltrans, including some of our other state, county, and local municipalities, as well as some of our business leaders, much as like AT&T, who have been victimized by this metal theft over the years, truly appreciates all of the efforts that have been put forward by CD2. So I want to give a message certainly to those people in the city of Los Angeles who are concerned about what they see as a problem with cost, with this theft, which is going on citywide. And there have been a number of efforts citywide and regionally to address metal theft. Back when the Los Angeles Police Department had a metal theft unit, we were able to conduct regular enforcement, regular inspections, and a lot of the other things. We have since refocused our efforts on the most egregious individuals and businesses that we've identified through our tracking system as continually having involvement in this illegal activity. For instance, in one of our investigations, we identified an individual that incurred in one incident a $150,000 loss to Caltrans property within the city of Los Angeles. So you can just imagine that's one incident, and if you just multiply that over the course of a year, that can be very expensive for the taxpayer. So one of our big issues is stopping this problem from going forward on an individual basis, and that's why today I'm able to report to you that we've made arrests, both misdemeanor and felony arrests, with suspects that have come into the San Fernando Valley and perpetrated these acts. So I want to acknowledge the hard work of our Commercial Crimes Division, led by Captain Boateng. Captain Francis Boateng has done an outstanding job in targeting these individuals on a specific targeted basis and conducting effective follow-up, surveillance, investigations, and arrests in order to bring these individuals to justice. And I want to echo the comments of the council member. These are felony crimes. Some of these have been arrested. Some of these individuals have been arrested for felony crimes with a huge dollar loss to governmental agencies. A huge dollar loss. Again, one incident, $150,000. I think that deserves a hard look in terms of prosecution. Some of the other crimes are misdemeanors, and they will be looked at very closely by our city attorney, and they should be prosecuted as well. And if necessary, put on probation and monitored so they don't continue this activity. In addition, we also know and we are aware of and have observed some of our businesses being less than honest brokers within the city of Los Angeles. And they have allowed this activity to continue not only with people inside the city, but individuals coming from outside the city because they know that some of these crooked recyclers will accept stolen metals. We are also cracking down on them. And much as the council member just said, and much as the city attorney has said, she has said that the city will be moving forward on civil action as well. So they can anticipate that that will be coming down the road as well, in addition to the citations that we've issued to the individuals that we've directly observed commit violations and taken enforcement actions. Moving forward, there could be an expectation within this city that we will continue to monitor our tracking system. We will continue to monitor people turning in metals that are both clearly marked and invisibly marked as identifying back to a governmental agency, and we will continue to conduct those investigations as well as the investigations into the individuals that are running a business, that are violating the law, that are causing these individuals to perpetuate this within the city and continuing these high dollar losses. So we are going to continue those investigations moving forward. We will follow the problem wherever it goes. So for instance, if someone commits a metal theft in the valley and they think it's too hot or they don't want to go somewhere within the valley to exchange that for cash, we are already aware that they're leaving the area and going to other parts of the city. And I just want to be very clear and direct that our reach is far. We will surveil them and investigate wherever the case leads us, and we will take effective action against both the individual committing the crime and the cook and recycler who is taking those metals in. So that should be the expectation within the city, and as we work with our regional partners, especially Caltrans within the state of California, who is by far the biggest victim right now around the state of California. So with that being said, I'm gonna hand it back over to the council member. I'll be available for questions regarding the specifics of our arrests following our opening remarks. Council member?
Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you to all of the men and women of Los Angeles Police Department for working so hard and receiving these results. Los Angeles, of course, is not alone. This is a problem that has beset cities across the country and other governmental entities. And as Chief Hamilton mentioned, Caltrans is one of the biggest victims in our state of metal theft. And so I'd like to introduce to speak on behalf of Caltrans, Blanca Rodriguez. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Blanca Rodriguez, and I'm the Chief of External Affairs at Caltrans here in District 7. We are responsible for Los Angeles and Ventura County's infrastructure. I first want to thank the Los Angeles Police Department, Commercial Crimes Division, Cargo Theft Unit, and the LAPD detectives for recovering these vital assets. We also would like to thank President Councilmember Krekorian for his efforts in speaking and spearheading recovery of copper wire to protect citizens along public highways. The theft and vandalism have increased substantially in the past 5 years. When thieves steal copper from Caltrans electrical infrastructure for resale, it creates a safety issue for motorists who use traffic systems such as lights, signs, and meters to navigate. This also can flood freeways when pumps fail during the rain. The theft impacts freeway lights, overhead signs, ramp meters, pump houses, and communication hubs, and damages fiber optic cable that services freeway message signs and television cameras. Caltrans has been addressing the issue. Just in the past 4 years, Caltrans spent more than $24 million to repair theft and vandalism to electrical infrastructure in Los Angeles and Ventura counties alone. We look forward to cooperating further with our partners at the Los Angeles Police Department and the California Highway Patrol in preventing theft on our state-owned roads. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Just in closing, I want to say this. The arrests that have taken place thanks to the work of this task force, the other arrests that have taken place recently through the work of the LAPD in the downtown area should be sending a strong signal to people who want to try to make a quick buck by purchasing stolen metal. We're coming after you. We're coming after you, and you better get used to the idea of having LAPD knocking on your door. You better get used to the idea of having handcuffs on your wrists, and you better get used to the idea of our taking civil actions against businesses that compete unfairly with legitimate businesses, because we will not only be pursuing civil remedies, we will seek to shut your business down. So that's how seriously we're taking this matter. And with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions.
Councilmember, what do you say to, we spoke to one recycler who I think he said he received a misdemeanor up in North Hollywood. His argument is he says he's followed the law. He takes the IDs, the thumbprint, At the end of the day, when he collects that copper, he says, how does he know it's stolen if he follows and they give him all the documents and then he just takes it in? How do you respond to that?
Well, we're not going to speak to the specifics, obviously, of any particular case, but you can see some of the examples of this when somebody shows up with a pickup truck filled with copper wire, for example, to sell, still on the spools. Some of those spools marked with the government agency that the copper wire belongs to. It's a little difficult to imagine that somebody thinks that that person has a legitimate, title to that metal. Each one of these cases is going to be different, and I'll allow, if they want to, LAPD to speak to that.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
I do want to address one thing briefly regarding that question. The metal recyclers know that the items that are marked, especially governmental, are with, for instance, AT&T, Spectrum. They know it's not an employee that's turning that stuff in. It's not someone associated with those companies. So therefore, they know what their responsibilities are under the agreement they have for conducting business in the city of Los Angeles. The expectation is that they follow that agreement and they follow those rules.
One question, because to follow up on that, because we may have spoken to the same guy, and what he was saying specifically, and forgive me because I don't know how this works, but this is what he told me. Every week he reports to LAPD over $20 when he buys something over $20 as per the rules. He says that he sometimes, often, and this is what I guess he says he was cited for, less than $18 on spools of wires that he could not tell were marked AT&T or anything like that. So the question for those of us who don't know, is copper wire something that I can go buy in Home Depot that perhaps is not marked, that he has a point that he might not be able to identify in smaller amounts?
So I'm not going to address a specific case because I don't know which case you're referring to. Without speculating, I can tell you that none of these cases involved that type of activity. I can also tell you that for instances where something's clearly marked, they're clearly marked. I mean, everyone here would be able to recognize what those markings are. There's not a whole lot of mystery to that kind of stuff. And I would say that when we conduct an investigation, we feel that there is evidence to either issue a citation or arrest someone. And then, of course, those facts will be coming out in court. We have no desire to stop legal trade. In fact, we encourage legal trade and business within the city of Los Angeles. We want to make it fair across the board for everyone. But when you have dishonest brokers that are out there clearly flouting the law on clearly marked items that are well in excess of thousands of dollars in value, those are the areas that we're focusing on. But I cannot address any specific case at this time.
At these facilities, were you finding any other infractions, like fire hydrants and stuff like that, or was it just the copper that you were finding like the biggest infraction?
It kind of runs the gamut. It's not all copper wire, as the council president specified. We have seen throughout the Southern California region everything from brass light posts to markers, monumental markers. We've seen infrastructure ripped out. We've seen people, and unfortunately, we've seen instances where people think they're removing just the copper wire, but they remove fiber optic cable, and now you've got, services that are critical to life support even going down when that repair has to be made. And when that repair has to be made, it can cost in the tens of thousands of dollars to repair those things, some of them very critical to safety infrastructure.
How many arrests and citations total over 2 months? I think
Well, we've had a number of arrests throughout the city, and I also want to acknowledge North Hollywood Division as well, because they've also been instrumental under the direction of Captain Warner Castillo, who is here with us today. They've also been instrumental in supporting us in the hours that we're not actually out there working on some of these cases. Some of the cases I can talk about that we've specifically addressed. We had a couple of we had 3 people that were arrested specifically within this task force that we wanted to talk about, where there was a felony arrest, and those arrests occurred within the San Fernando Valley, on the east side of the San Fernando Valley. And then in terms of specifically citing locations, we've had a number of different yards that have been cited for a number of different reasons. So I want to be clear, the citations involve not only taking in the metals, but also operating outside of the agreement that they've made with the city to operate as a recycler. So it's a combination of those two issues. And we've cited 8 recyclers in the San Fernando Valley under this task force. Okay, and we did have these 3 arrests. And again, when we talk about the arrests, these are people that we've targeted because they've been involved in this type of activity. We've had them under surveillance, and we've observed the activity. And then when our investigation gets to a point where we can make an arrest, we've made an arrest and we've recovered, as you see, some of these items here during our investigation. That's why we've provided these specific photos.
And those arrested, are those owners, are those recyclers who were arrested, or actual alleged copper thieves?
The recyclers were cited. The thieves were arrested. Yeah. None of our thieves were cited. They were all arrested. Okay?
What can you tell us about these thieves? I know when we were talking about the burglaries in Encino recently that we got word from you all that this was perhaps connected to some sort of broader organization. Are you seeing something similar with this?
So what I want to emphasize is quite often these individuals work around the Southern California region. So they're not going to be working just in the city of Los Angeles. Clearly, the council president's main emphasis is going to be on East Valley and that area. But our investigations have shown that these individuals go to a lot of other places around the region and they conduct these thefts. They've quite often had records for prior thefts, and they will go wherever they feel they can get the best deal for turning the stuff in, for turning in the stolen material and not getting, reported to the authorities. That's typically where they're going to go. And of course, when that happens within the city of Los Angeles, that is a clear violation of the agreement that we have to allow them to conduct recycling business inside the city, which again is unfair to all the other businesses that are following the rules.
Earlier you mentioned that there are both visible and invisible markers for when something is from a government agency. Can you describe what some of those invisible markers maybe? Are there ways to tell that something attracts something from stolen?
Well, so I'm not going to describe the invisible markings because we're not going to give that away. But clearly, as you can see here, some of it was clearly marked. And then we have, so there are a different combination of things. There can be markings on spooling, on the plastic insulation, and other things. But there are other ways that it is marked by both the governmental agency and by the company that produces the metal. And we have the ability to look into those items and determine whether they are actually owned by someone else. Generally, the clearly marked items are going to be enough for most of your recyclers to know that someone showing up has stolen material. We make sure that when we have the ability to identify with our partners items that are stolen and clearly marked either invisibly or surreptitiously, that we utilize that as an investigative technique. Any other questions?
Can I ask you a question on a different matter?
We're only going to address metal theft today, folks. Sorry.
We'd like an update on the missing child in East LA. Is there any?
I can talk to anyone offline about metal theft after this if you'd like a stand-up, but other than that, we're only going to address metal theft today regarding this press conference. Okay?
Where the metals end up, the dealers, where it goes?
So quite often what we see is they're transshipped to another state or to another point, and then they're often loaded up and taken overseas. Sometimes they're melted down and utilized here, but we see all of those different things happening.
Are you having inspections before the ships go out, or once the dealers get it, it's melted, or?
Well, we don't inspect ships because we don't. That's a different part of it. When they're shipped out of the state, that becomes a different type of crime. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.